back to Native Strength. I'm your host, Hyapatia. In this episode, we'll examine the north on the Wheel of Life. Now, as you may remember from past episodes, the cardinal directions are a bit more complicated than the non-cardinal ones. So the north stands for many things. It's the direction of intent, knowledge, and wisdom. This is where we apply meaning and purpose to what we have experienced. We must be consciously aware of the meanings we have ascribed to events in our life and willing to be flexible in our interpretations. Now, these are the steps on the Wheel of Life that we've already thoroughly examined in our previous episodes. What may have been true at one time may no longer be. Things always change. If we aren't aware of how things may have changed, we won't make wise decisions in our life. Our complete consciousness and flexibility give us the coordination needed to find our intent. Since life changes, we must be willing to change our opinions, philosophies, and belief systems, and even our intent. If we're not flexible, we won't be able to move around the Wheel of Life and receive input from different viewpoints. We're constantly growing and learning, and as we do so, our beliefs evolve. It's said by the elders that we should explore a minimum of 9 perspectives on anything that requires a decision. One should choose the greatest pleasure and the greatest learning, keeping in mind that short-term pain for longer-term pleasure and knowledge is always a wise choice. We have to understand the value of knowledge in all forms of self-expression, because wisdom doesn't come simply from books and structured curriculum. Life experience often teaches us what the classroom can't. I've met some of the wisest people who say they got their degree in street from the University of Hard Knocks. There are ways to be positive and negative with our knowledge. We can use what we know for good or for bad. As always, we each have male and female energy, and it's our choice to use it in ways that bring happiness to ourselves and others. So, let's begin our examination of the North with a story about negative female energy. Nadia was a little brat. The other kids in her first grade class thought she was a selfish bully. Her mother worried that she'd grow up to be a bad person, so she started taking her to church every Sunday. Nadia was unfamiliar with it all at first, but she soon blended in with the other kids at Sunday school. When a boy in the class saw another child steal a crayon and told the teacher, she saw how he was rewarded. The lessons were not wasted on her. She took them to heart and changed her demeanor. She began to be much more concerned with following the rules and being fair. As she grew, she fell in love with a nice gentleman from the congregation, and they were wed in a beautiful ceremony. As the years went by and they had children who became young adults, Nadia found her children living a life of sin. She brought them back to the church in which they had been raised and tried to immerse them in their Christian culture. The more she did this, the more her children rebelled. One day, she sat them down and explained how God would not approve of their lifestyles and that they would never earn their place in heaven. She was truly concerned that she wouldn't be able to spend the afterlife with her children. Her daughter didn't care for men and had chosen a female partner. Her son was a photographer who took pictures of semi-clad women for lingerie ads and even some adult venues. Nadia was convinced her children would burn in hell. After all she had done to raise them to be good Christians, she was not about to give up. She had hoped to see or hear from them soon, telling her that they were trying to embrace a new life. Months went by, and there was no word. The people at church supported her, but it wasn't filling the void left by her children. Her husband suggested that she loosen up. Things were different nowadays. He reasoned that she should be able to accept their children for who they were. After all, they were still the children they had both loved and raised, and their hearts were pure. Nadia did not give in. She held tightly to her traditions and beliefs, and all the while felt in her heart that she was doing the right thing. She wasn't aware of all the joy she was missing out on. She had chosen to shut herself off from other points of view. Do you see how Nadia's closed-mindedness alienated her from her children? The church had been a good idea when she was a child to teach her right from wrong, but she failed to learn how to think for herself. Instead of using her heart and emotions, the south on the wheel of life, and seeing that Jesus loved the sinners as well as the saints, and actually spent more time with them, she cut her children off from her love. It's very common for people to choose only a few pieces of information and plan their actions on limited knowledge. You see, the key is that we don't just go around the wheel of life once, but we're always observing, interpreting what we have seen, imagining what will happen next, and planning for it. Since things are always changing, all of these steps are in constant stages of evolution. It's when someone stops this evolution, stops allowing new information in, that they begin to choose negative energy. I'll show you what I mean by examining how we can use positive female energy in the North. Phoebe grew up in a well-to-do family. Her father was a successful entrepreneur, and her mother was a physician specializing in orthopedics. She was sent to a private school and expected to go to a prestigious university. All of her boyfriends had met with her parents' approval. They were from good families with money. She never understood people who complained that life was unfair or too hard. If one worked hard enough, anything was possible. It was in college that she was introduced to the other side of the world. A young man who had caught her eye at a club near campus was from the poor side of town. He had gotten a scholarship through hard work and perseverance. She was attracted to his good looks, and when she got to know him, she was amazed at the character of this soft-spoken man. When he took her home to meet his parents, she had second thoughts. His parents were divorced, but had gotten together to meet her in his mother's run-down trailer at the edge of the trailer park in one of the poorest areas of the city. They both had tattoos and smoked cigarettes, and the place looked like nothing had been bought new in over 25 years. It was clean, though, and they took care to use coasters on their scratched-up old table. Phoebe was rather appalled. She felt uncomfortable and out of place. She didn't think she had anything in common with these people, and so she didn't know what to say. She knew her parents would never approve. Her boyfriend started the conversation by introducing her, and suddenly she felt embarrassed for the first time to have come from a family with money. She wanted to get out of there as fast as she could. The mother was very kind and polite. She asked about Phoebe and her family, but Phoebe didn't want to talk about that much. She felt like it would be rubbing her money in their face, so she changed the subject to discuss her boyfriend's studies. The mother and father lit up like a light. It was obvious how proud they were of their son and how much they loved and supported him. His mother told about how she was working 2 jobs to help with his college expenses, and his father said he had been cutting up fallen down trees after work and on the weekends to sell firewood for the extra cash. Phoebe could tell these people were not afraid of hard work and that their financial situation was not a result of laziness. She would never have guessed that she would leave the trailer hoping to see them again. She had a whole new perspective on life now that she had allowed herself to think for herself. Do you see how that, despite how she had been raised, Phoebe was able to see life from a different point of view. She could see that there was more to it than just what she had been told, and that life manifests differently for each of us. She could see the value in this family beyond a financial statement. She used her wisdom to open her mind to see the facts for what they were without judging or reverting to learned behavior. She wasn't afraid to think for herself. Now, if she had written off her boyfriend just because his family was poor, she would have missed out on many opportunities. This man had a lot to offer. Being with him exposed her to a whole new world that she could learn a lot from. Remember, if we shut ourselves off from other experiences, we limit our growth. And the purpose of life is to learn and grow. Phoebe embraced knowledge and growth when she embraced her boyfriend and his family. Now let's examine male energy with a story about the negative use of that energy in the North. Nolan was raised in a traditional two-parent family in the country with his grandparents living just down the road. His grandfather worked on heavy equipment engines, and his father had followed in his footsteps. These were the pillars of the family. His mother and grandmother leaned on them to do the hard work around the house and to make all of the big decisions. His grandmother had never worked outside of the home. His mother had taken a part-time job now and then when they needed extra income. When Nolan went to college, he quickly fell in love with a beautiful woman who was very popular. She was smart and ambitious and taking courses in pre-med. It wasn't long before they were married. After college, his wife went to med school and became a doctor. Now, Nolan knew that this was the plan, but still, he felt like his wife should be at home. She had a husband now, so why did she really need a career? Didn't she understand that he would provide for her? When they were expecting their first child, he just assumed that she would stay home when the baby was born, but this wasn't her plan. She had worked hard to earn her title. She had a true sense of vocation, and she wasn't about to quit just when she had started earning good money. Nolan felt he was supposed to be the man and support his family. If his wife worked, it was a reflection on his masculinity, and it affected his sense of self-worth. He had a very hard time coming to terms with it, but eventually he caved in. He didn't like it when he was expected to help out around the house at things his mother and grandmother had always taken great pride in doing for their family. There were control issues, financial decisions that he thought should have been his alone. It wasn't too many years before the tax returns clearly showed that Nolan's wife was making more money than he was. This emasculated him even further. He felt like lashing out, asserting his superiority, his masculinity, and his power. He was tired of being the wife in the family. Their marriage quickly crumbled. He reasoned it was because he had not married a traditional woman from the country. Nolan wasn't able to adapt. He was raised in a time and place that was much different from the one he found himself living in. Instead of interpreting the Southwest that times had changed and that his wife's work was no reflection on his masculinity, he took her success as a sign of his weakness. Instead of using introspection, the West, to realize that he was a very useful, worthy, and masculine person in other ways, he clung to the standard definition of a man from his past. He didn't use the energy of the Northwest to plan for what would happen when his wife became a successful doctor and also became a mother. So, when he got to the North, wisdom, he didn't have much. He acted foolishly because he put his mind on automatic and didn't bother to think for himself. Now let's examine how we can all use positive male energy in the North. Phil loved music, ever since he was a little boy. Even as a baby, he would rock in time to the songs he heard in the car. When he was in grade school, he began playing the trumpet, and he loved it. He would blow that thing night and day, and he was pretty good. In high school, he loved being part of the marching band. He had a solo at the homecoming. One night, during his senior year, the family was on their way home from a night at the movies when they were involved in an accident. A car ran a red light and ran right into the side of the family vehicle. Phil suffered the worst of it. He had a punctured lung from a broken rib. After a few months, he was as good as new. But when he tried to play his trumpet, he just didn't have the breath he needed anymore. Phil saw doctors and they gave him asthma medicine to improve his lung capacity, and it helped a little, but it wasn't enough to play a brass instrument and march the way he used to. But that didn't stop Phil for long. If he couldn't play the trumpet, he would pick up another instrument, and so he chose the violin. He came to the violin rather late compared to all the other kids in his senior orchestra class, and so he struggled to keep up. He enjoyed the change in music and the new styles he was exposed to. When he went to college, he decided to keep it up because it brought him such joy. Phil also enjoyed tennis. It was something that he had always played, but as time went on, his elbow was starting to bother him. When he was playing violin one day and the pain came back in his bow arm, he grew very discouraged. It seemed like everything he loved had been taken away from him. Why was the universe so against him? All he'd ever wanted to do was play music. Phil was very depressed and was not sure what to do with his life. He went to the beach to sit for a while, to watch the waves come in, and to try to figure out what he would do in the future. He started to cry. Life didn't seem fair. While he was watching a seagull fly overhead, it dawned on him that the drum major and the conductor had the real power. They were the ones who controlled the entire musical ensemble and dictated how slow or fast or how loud or soft a piece would be played. Like the seagull, they had a wider vision. All of a sudden, he knew what he wanted to be. He wanted to conduct an orchestra. It would be like playing all of the instruments at the same time. It wouldn't take any strength on his bad elbow. No powerful lungs would be required, and he would love every minute of it. Phil didn't let the things that happened to him in life stop him from following his sacred dream. He started to take classes that led him down the path of a successful orchestra conductor and lived a very happy life. Phil wasn't afraid to try something new each time that life threw him a curveball. He kept trying until he found what would bring him joy and happiness. This is like going through a maze and running into walls. Instead of stopping when we run into a wall, we should face a new direction and try again. There is a plan for our life that we can't see. When we start to go down a path that's not part of our plan, the universe puts up a wall. We hit the wall and get discouraged. Some keep pounding away at the wall. Others sit down right there, give up. The happy person takes the wall as a voice from the universe, telling us that happiness is not found in this direction. They are thankful that the universe is guiding them, and they follow these instructions. If you feel like you keep running into walls, turn and face another direction. Now, you know how I keep telling you that the native strength path was given to us by the star people? I'm going to share a story with you from long ago about some of these beings. You may have seen shows on the History Channel or National Geographic where the bones of giants have been discovered. This story is about some of those giants. Now remember, these giants are like us. They have families, friends, and enemies. And they also have great powers. There was once an old man and woman who lived by the sea. They had many children and were very poor. One day, the couple were in their canoe, and they ran into a dense fog and got lost. After a while, they heard voices and the sound of water moving, and pretty soon, a giant canoe came into their view with several men in it that were very large. The leader said, "Little friends, where are you going?" They explained that they were lost. The giants were very kind and friendly, and the leader invited them to come to their camp. The man and woman were amazed at how gently two of the giants put the tips of their paddles under the ends of their canoe and lifted them into their own. The giants were very kind and enamored with the couple, just like we would be with a new puppy. As they got near the beach, they saw 3 wigwams as big as mountains rising out of the fog. An older, taller man came down to the water. "My sons, what have you got there?" he asked. "I found them lost in the fog," he said. The father told his sons to bring the couple inside. They set the canoe in a safe place and gave the people so much to eat that it would have lasted them for years. In a few days, the men all went out hunting and came back with moose and caribou that were the size of rabbits to a normal man. The giants treated the people very kindly and with respect. They told them that there would be a battle in a few days with the Chenoo rival giants. This battle would cause great noise that could kill the people. And so they were told to protect themselves by stopping up their ears and wrapping their bodies and heads in many layers of skins. Even so, they almost didn't survive the first war cry. The second one hurt them less. And after the third great scream, the chief came back and told them that the battle was over and they had been victorious. It wasn't very many days before the chief told them that the Kukwis would soon be battling them. And again, the humans were bundled up and put to bed like dolls to protect them. They heard the 3 screams as before, the first one being the greatest. Then the warriors came back, covered in blood, and the chief's son fell dead before he could cross the threshold. The chief walked out to him, worked with him for a short time, and then told his fallen son to come in and eat, which he did. The humans were amazed at this gift. The grown son had been struck in the head with a rock that had wedged itself in his skull. Now, a few days later, the chief asked the humans if they were tired of living with his kind. The people were fascinated with the giants, but they did miss their children. The chief said he completely understood. And the next day, their canoe was prepared with fine meats and furs. Then the chief gave them a dog that he said would point the way for them to go home. He told the man that in 7 years, he would be reminded of his time with the giants. When they made it to their home, their children ran to greet them, and the dog wagged its tail. Then it turned and ran on the water back to the giants, as if the ocean was ice. The next day, when the man went fishing, the salmon practically fought for a place in his trap. The moose and deer ran from the woods to sacrifice themselves for his family. They never wanted for anything again. 7 years passed, and one night the man had a dream that he was with the giants again, and a whale came up from the sea to sing to him. It was the most beautiful song that he had ever heard. When he woke up, he told his wife that he thought the dream meant that he would have the same magical powers that the giants had. Now, that same day, a great shark swam into the bay and chased away all of the fish. The people all thought that it was an evil omen. Soon after, on that same day, that small dog that had helped them find their way home came trotting across the water just like before. The dog greeted and licked the people, and then he sat at the man's feet as if he was expecting instructions. Now, the number 7 is a sacred number, often seen in traditional Native American societies. There are 7 clans in many tribes, including the Cherokee, and there were 7 rooms in a great cave that the Aztecs say that we all came from. 7 represents freedom. The man promised the dog that in 3 years he would return to the land of the giants. Now, as soon as the dog heard that, he licked the man's hands and ran back out over the sea. 3 years later, the man kept his promise. After paddling out in his canoe for half a day, he saw the large wigwams from the water. The enormous canoes of the giants were drawn up on the shore. The chief came down to greet him and took him into his home. It was there that he learned that all 3 of the chief's sons had perished. They had died 3 years ago when the shark, the great sorcerer, came into the bay. They had gone, but the old man lingered a bit longer. Before he left, he wanted to leave the man a gift, their magic. The chief brought out his son's clothes and told the man to put them on. Now, this was like trying to wear a big tent, but he stepped inside them anyway, and as he did, he grew and grew and grew until the clothes fit him. Remember in our other stories that the clothes represent wisdom. So he was given the knowledge, but it took a while for him to be able to use what he had learned. When he grew into the son's clothes, he had gained the Manitou power. Sometimes we have wisdom. We know better, but we do foolish things anyway. It may take us some time to grow into our knowledge. We are now halfway around the wheel of life. You've come a long way on your path. I hope you feel like you're starting to grow into your knowledge. I'm Hyapatia, and you've been watching Native Strength. Oh,